Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, this is your boy Chris B back at it again with another video. So, as y'all know, we are in the Christmas season and Mariah Carey has fully thawed out. And this is actually week 2 for the 4 weeks of Christmas. So, the first week we talked about Jingle All the Way. Great film. I loved it. One of my favorite Christmas movies. I can't even front. It's a guilty pleasure. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I love the movie. But this week, we're going to be talking about The Good Son. So I feel like, as many videos as there are on YouTube about this movie, I still feel like this movie doesn't get enough, doesn't have enough conversation about it, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? And this is one of those films that I was always wanting to talk about because I remember the first time I seen it, it was actually back in 2003. And I came in on the scene. Well, I'll talk about that part, near the end of this review, but I came in near the end, you know what I'm saying? And that's what made me want to rewatch the movie. So this movie is to me it's a psychological horror, but I believe it's considered a thriller, if I'm not mistaken. So a lot of people see Macaulay Culkin in this movie and they assume that it's a kids movie, which is not. It's R rated. You know what I'm saying? Um, and it has Elijah Wood also. You know, the guy that never ages. But anyway, the premise of the movie basically is about Elijah Wood's character Mark, his mother passing away, and his father has a deal with some company in Japan or whatever, so they'll be set up for life. And he sends Mark to stay with his aunt and uncle and that family. So when he gets there, everybody is greeting him and everything like that. And Macaulay's character Henry, the first time we see him, a lot of people say the first time you see him is when he's wearing a paper mask or whatever that he made. But no, the first time you really see him is when he see the car approaching the house. You know what I'm saying? That's really the first time. But the first time that he comes in the picture is him wearing a mask. You know what I'm saying? Like, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm not making sense. I don't know, but you know what I'm saying. The first time we're introduced to him is when he comes down the stairs wearing the paper mask. So in the beginning, him and Mark, you know what I'm saying? Everything is fine. They're around the dinner table and they playfully kick each other for some reason. I don't know. They thought that was funny, but that shit would piss me off. The way that Henry kicked Mark under the table, yeah. But anyway, the next day, Henry and Mark they go up to this treehouse that I guess Henry's dad put together, and it's like really high up. You know what I mean? Me even now, I'm not afraid of heights or nothing like that, but I don't know if I do that shit. You know what I mean? But Henry, no, Mark follows Henry up to the treehouse, and Mark he loses his footing, and Henry grabs him before he was able to fall. You know what I'm saying? And this was already a red flag. This movie hit the ground running. So this little bastard says, "If I let you fall, do you think you can fly?" That was a red. After that, right there, I'm not hanging with you, bruh. You know what I'm saying? He pulls him up, but still. And then, not long after that, Henry, he's got like this nail gun or whatever that he put together himself. First of all, I'm just like, where were your parents? You know what I'm saying? Not only did he have the nail gun, he had this mannequin that he made called Mr. Highway. But we'll get to that part soon. So they go out to the woods, right? And they're I guess they was about to use the trees or something for target practice, but Henry sees this cat. And then he shoots the nail gun, but he doesn't hit the cat. And then Mark says, "Good shot." And Henry says, what did he say? He says something about It was the it's not lined up right or something like that. You know what I mean? But you could tell there was something definitely wrong with this kid. You know what I mean? Um, and there's another scene that really kind of stood out to me because this happened to me as a child, right? I can relate to it. So they're walking on this bridge, and out of nowhere, this dog starts chasing them. And I can relate because I used to go through that a lot when I was living in Durham. You know what I'm saying? NC back in the day. You know what I mean? But um I feel like the dog wasn't really coming after Mark. I felt like it was coming after Henry because you know animals can sense like evil and sense negativity in a person or whatever, or the evil that the person has in them. So I feel like the dog was chasing Henry, and I feel like that's not the first time that happened either. But anyways, after that, we get to. Well, I'm gonna skip through. You know what I'm saying? So they're now in Henry's room. You know what I'm saying? And Mark. No, 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 no. I'll take that back. I'm sorry. Um, Mark. He hears like some noise going on downstairs, and he sees that it's Henry's mother, because he thought it was his mother. You know what I'm saying? Like the boy was really traumatized. So he thought it was his mother, but it turned out to be Henry's mother walking around. You know what I'm saying? And that was a sad scene, man. Like I gotta say, man, Elijah Wood, he can really act. Even as a kid, he had skill. You know what I mean? And Henry sees this, and then you can see like the jealousy kind of building up in him. You know what I mean? Because Henry's mother is showing Mark a lot of attention because of what he went through. So after this, the next day, um, Henry he takes the nail gun back out to the woods, or sometime later he takes the nail gun back out to the woods, and then they see the dog that was chasing them, and so instead of shooting past the dog, which Mark wanted him to do, Henry hits the dog with the nail gun and kills it. And so at this point, Mark he's shocked, you know what I mean, but he's not at the point where he wants to stop, hanging around Henry yet. So they take the dog and they throw him down as well. You know what I'm saying? And Henry starts talking shit again about Mark's mother. And Mark he gets pissed off and threatens to hit Henry, but Henry threatens to throw him down a well if he tried it. You know what I mean? So not only that, another thing that's got me scratching my head about this movie, Henry pulls out a pack of cigarettes. One, where the hell did he get cigarettes? You know what I'm saying? Because I don't really remember seeing his mother or his father smoking at any point in this movie. So I was like, where the fuck did he get cigarettes from? You know what I'm saying? And then he has Mark try it. You know what I'm saying? Telling Mark that, everybody's going to die one day. So why the hell not try it? And so at this point, Mark starts to look at Henry like differently. So while they're in the room, no, 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 not yet, not yet. So the next day, Henry wants Mark to follow him to the shed. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get my scenes together, man. I keep jumping back and forth. But anyway, Henry wanted Mark to follow him to the shed. And this is where Mr. Highway comes in, the mannequin. So Henry basically tricks Mark into helping him carry the mannequin to a highway. You know what I'm saying? They're on this overpass or whatever, right? And then out of nowhere, this little shit takes the mannequin and just drops it onto the highway and then calls the 10-car pileup. Nobody died or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? But yo, the look on Mark's face, he was scared as I don't know what. But Henry, like he had no kind of like regret or nothing. Like the look on his face, he really enjoyed it. So at this point, this is where Mark really stops fucking with him. You know what I'm saying? So now they're sitting in Henry's room, and Henry's sister walks in. Which, by the way, the little girl that plays his sister in the movie is also his sister in real life. If y'all didn't know that, but she walks into the room, and Henry grabs her by the ears. You know what I'm saying? Trying to kick her out the room, and Mark he gets pissed off about this and slams Henry against the wall. So the sister runs and go tells her mom, you know what I'm saying, that they're fighting. And she comes upstairs and Henry just says, "No, they were playing the game." And Mark, he, co-signs it. So at this point, I'm just going to skip a little bit, you know what I'm saying, because I do want y'all to watch this movie if you haven't seen it. So the parents go out one night, right, leaving these kids at home. Now, obviously, they didn't see anything wrong with Henry at all. You know what I mean? But they leave the three kids at home while they went out. And so, little girl, Henry's sister wants to play hide and seek. And so Mark is panicking because he feels like Henry was going to hurt her. You know what I mean? And so he eventually finds them when he hears her screaming. And it turns out that Henry was just tickling her. And so Mark tells her that it's bedtime. You know what I'm saying? So he tucks her in and he reads her a bedtime story until she falls asleep. And then out of nowhere, Henry's just standing right outside the door. And so he's saying that, what you think I'm going to hurt my baby sister? I just want to tuck her in, blah, 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 blah. And Mark is like, yeah, he straight up told him, like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because again, at this point, Mark, he doesn't want nothing to do with this kid. And so, you know, um, nothing happens that night. So the next day, or later on in the film, we get to a scene where once again Henry and Mark they're in the room, and this time Henry, like he crossed the line talking about Mark's moms. You know what I'm saying? So Mark grabs a pair of scissors and puts it to Henry's neck and threatens to, stab him in the neck with the scissors. But the dad comes in and catches it in time and put Mark in the room and lock no, he put him in his study and locks him in there. You know what I'm saying? And then this is like near the end where, you know, um Henry's mother and Henry they go out for a walk and Mark sees this. Now, Henry, he's manipulative. You know what I mean? Like very manipulative. Because again, there was a scene that I didn't mention where Henry was downstairs when Mark went down there to get something out of the fridge and Henry was standing basically right behind him. And so Mark, he panics because he thinks that Henry did something to the food. So he turned on the food disposal and he starts just taking everything out of the fridge and just throwing it down in there. And so Henry runs upstairs to get his parents and they stop Mark. You know what I'm saying? And Mark is trying to tell them that their son is crazy. I mean, it turns out that Mark, not Mark, but Henry, he really didn't do anything to the food, but he was just getting inside of Mark's head. You know what I'm saying? Because between his mother passing away and Henry fucking with him, yeah, that's gonna do something to you. You know what I'm saying? Because he's already traumatized from her death. But back to the scene where Mark is in the study. So Henry goes out, with his mother, and again, Mark he sees this because he's trying to get, you know, Henry's mother's attention because he knows that Henry is going to do something to her. Because a scene before this, Henry's mother, actually, there's one character I didn't mention yet, and that's the character Richard, which was the youngest child. And Henry walks into the shed and sees that his mother had found this rubber duck that used to belong to his brother, but it was his before that. So Henry told his mother to give the duck, back to him, and then she refused. So he snatched it away from her and ran off and threw it down a well. And so at this point, this is where we shoot back to where, Henry and his mother are talking, walking and talking. And she straight up asked him, "Did you kill Richard?" And this little punk said, "What if I did?" Because another scene earlier in the movie, I'm just skipping around because I just feel like I need to mention everything that evil deeds that this little bastard did. You know what I'm saying? Like there was one scene where he was out on the he was out at the skating outside skating, what I'm saying, at this park or whatever with his sister. And Mark overheard this because the mother and father, they were still, going back and forth from the night before about what Henry told his mother, that Mark wants to, sleep in Richard's room. And then that's what kind of triggered her, and she got emotional. So the next day, they're talking, and Mark overheard his aunt tell his uncle where his cousins were. So he runs out because, again, Mark is like, he is certain that Henry was going to do something. And he was right. He was right. You know what I'm saying? So when he got to this park where they was skating at, Henry tosses his sister into, what I'm saying, like tosses her into the line, like the little rope or whatever, the area that was roped off. And she fell into this area, was like really thin ice. So she fell through the ice. And strangely, for some reason, I don't know why I remember that scene from years ago. Maybe I have seen this movie. I just don't remember. But she falls into the ice, and then Henry, he acts like he, was trying to save her, but he doesn't. So it's these two guys that come over and pulls her out of the water. And she ends up in the hospital. And so he comes to the hospital. Excuse me. He comes to the hospital to try to finish the job until his mother has seen him. You know what I mean? But then now back to near the end where he's walking with his mother. You know what I'm saying? So they're walking and talking again. She asks him, did he kill Richard? And again, he said, what if I did? And so she is wanting to get him help, but he's afraid that she might put him away. You know what I'm saying? So he runs away, and she's trying to, find out where he, she was chasing him down, trying to, get him or whatever, trying to convince him that, she wasn't gonna put him away or whatever. But then she comes to the edge of the cliff or whatever. So Henry comes out from behind a bush or something like that, or a tree, and he pushes her off the cliff. But luckily, she was able to get a grip and hold on. And at this point, he picks up this big ass rock. Excuse me. I think I got a cold, man. But he picks up this big ass rock, and he was about to crack her skull with it. And then Mark just comes out of nowhere because he managed to escape the room that he was in. But he got the Henry in time. So they're fighting. And this is the infamous scene of the movie. This is the scene that I'm sure that everybody who's seen this movie remembers more than any other part. You know what I mean? So they're fighting while Susan, the mother, is trying to, climb her way back up. So by the time she gets back up to the top of the cliff, both of the boys go rolling off the cliff, and she grabs, their hands. So she's not able to pull both of them up. And at this point, Mark, he is shitting bricks. You know what I'm saying? He is scared for his life, which is very understandable. Henry, on the other hand, he, I really, I really can't explain it, but he wasn't panicking as much as Mark. Mark had genuine panic in his face. Henry was just, Mom, I love you. I love you. I need your other hand. You know what I'm saying? Once again, trying to manipulate her. And so at this point, Henry's mother finally came to her senses because she didn't believe Mark earlier when Mark tried to tell her that he tried to kill his sister, Connie. You know what I'm saying? But she saw it for herself after what he did to her. So this now, if you don't have the stomach for this movie, then maybe you should cut it off right here because she winds up, she let Henry go to save Mark. And I don't know if they showed this part on a broadcast, like the TV broadcast, because I've seen this movie on TV, but I don't exactly remember if they cut the part showing Henry at the bottom of the cliff dead. You know what I'm saying? Because he fell face first, and then the water took him away or whatever. So after this, the movie, there's a narration from Mark. You know what I mean? And then he's basically talking about if I could do it all over again or something like that. Damn, I don't remember, but yeah, this movie was pretty good. And I will say this is one of my favorite movies. So I couldn't find this movie anywhere. I had to purchase it or rent it on YouTube or whatever to watch it because it wasn't streaming on any like service that we had. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, this is one of those movies I could watch once a year because it's a classic. Now, fun fact about this movie though, Macaulay Culkin's father, right? I think his name was Kit Culkin. He wanted he wanted his son to be in this movie to play the Henry character. So Home Alone 2 was going into production at this point, right? Before, the Good Son started production, but no, I think the Good Son was already in production. It just came out a year after Home Alone 2. But he told the producers and all of that, if they want his son for Home Alone 2, then they gotta put him in the Good Son. You know what I mean? Which they had no problem with. And I thought that was pretty interesting. You know what I'm saying? Macaulay Culkin played one hell of a psychotic kid. Like, he was good in this movie. You know what I mean? Like, he was a little bastard, but he was good in this movie. Um, Elijah Wood, great actor. You know what I'm saying? He was great in this movie as well. And everybody else that was in this film, you know, the mother, the father, Mark's dad, you know what I'm saying? And even the therapist that Mark was talking to. You know what I'm saying? All of them were great actors. So if you haven't seen this movie, make sure you give it a watch. Sadly, I don't know where to tell y'all to watch it because I only got Netflix, Peacock, Disney Plus. You know what I'm saying? And, and it's not streaming on any of them services. So if you want to watch it, my best bet, their best bet would be to either buy the DVD or rent it on YouTube or something and watch it there. You know what I'm saying? But hey, like I said, this movie for me gets a 9 out of 10. It's a great film. So check it out. And that's my review for The Good Son. So I appreciate y'all for listening once again. And I will talk to y'all later. Peace.